Welcome back to another video. Yay!
As you can see, we're reunited. It's a lovely experience. Honored to be here.
Mhm. Yeah, we're obviously meeting over Zoom because we're in different parts of the world right now. If you guys saw our other vlogs, but we saw a comment mentioning how you want to see the activities that are offered at Wellesley, and so we're just going to be having a little casual chit chat and kind of talk to you guys about what Wellesley activities look like. So we'll get right into
Also,
it.
keep in mind, we both just finished our first year. So obviously, we don't have a super full outlook on what everything is. I'm sure like a current senior would have a much different opinion or have a lot more knowledge. Unfortunately, neither of us are seniors. But yeah, this is what we've got. So I hope it helps.
We'll try our best. Yeah.
Okay, so first off, we want to just like quickly mention what are like the basic categories of like what exists at Wellesley in terms of like club activities or orgs that we offer. So there's like cultural, there's performance, religion, career, academics, sports, health and wellness, media, volunteer, and then also just like campus life. And obviously, there's going to be more things that don't fit into those categories, but from our perspective, that's like the biggest what we saw during our first year at Wellesley and from everything we've seen. We're also going to be leaving a link in the description of the website that you can go to kind of see like what literally all of the orgs are. So that can be helpful as well. I don't know how updated that is, if I'm being honest, but yeah, at least it's there. So, mhm. So the first thing we're both going to be going into is like, what are the activities we personally are involved in? I am involved in rugby as my sport, Alzheimer's Buddies, Wellesley for Boston Children's Hospital, MAPS, which is, I believe, Minority Association for Pre-Med Students, and then Hippocratic Society, which is like just the general pre-med society on campus. And those are like my five main ones.
For me, I'm in the Alzheimer's Buddies and the WBCH, the Boston for Children's Hospital with Kamya. And then some things I have separately are I'm part of the archery club. And then I'm also part of the orchestra. It's for the Wellesley Brandeis or something like that, like the joint orchestra. And then there's definitely more clubs that we both want to join. And for me personally, I want to join the psych club, and then I want to join some like cultural group and more volunteering, and also like a religious group where I could kind of feel more like home. I'm planning to join those. How about you, Kamya?
I think some new ones that I'm looking into, the same thing would be Boston Healthcare for the homeless. And then I don't know, a little part of me is kind of wondering what joining WZLY would be like because I've always wanted to have a podcast and I feel like it'd be really fun and I really like talking to people. So who knows? We'll see. So, as a first year and or any student at Wellesley, there's always the org fair at the very beginning of the year. I remember there's a huge org fair during orientation, which was so fun to go to. Like you genuinely have no idea. But that one, it's like every single org's for the most part sets up booths and then you can just go around write your email down and then you'll get emails about like when's the first meeting, when do you do all of this stuff. And I had a great experience at the orgs fair. I remember signing up for literally like 12 different orgs and then I stuck with some, didn't stick with others, but it's just a really great way to kind of explore everything in one place. I will say it can get a little overwhelming just because it's like the third day of orientation and all of a sudden you're seeing hundreds of people and hundreds of different orgs. But I think it's a great place to start. And I highly recommend showing up, even if it's just for like 10 minutes looking around, because it is like a great way to see what all the different options are.
Yeah, and to kind of add on to that, since it is part of orientation week, it gets really busy. Like there's so many other events that are going on. And from my personal experience, I was debating really hard if I should go to the org fair or not, because again, like you're just really tired. But I think going is like a really helpful first step to make if you're interested in joining different orgs because they talk to you and everyone's really friendly. And so you kind of get to see what clubs are offered. And you don't need to join orgs just based on what your current interests are. You could also just start exploring new interests. And so I think it's a really good place to see everything all there, you know? So I think it's a really helpful event. Yeah.
Okay, another thing, like throughout this video, I just want you to keep in mind that like you're gonna be involved in a lot of other things too. Like, yeah, you obviously have your classes, and some of you may have like maybe you're a division athlete or you're there like really focused on music or whatever, but like it's also fully possible and most likely this situation where you have jobs, whether it's an on-campus job, off-campus job, whatever. That is the reality for I feel like most of the students is they have some sort of employment during their time at Wellesley. And another thing is it's like I feel like there's this misconception that when you go to college, you have to kind of like cut ties with everything you did back when you were home, like during high school or growing up. I just want people to know that's not the case. Like there's always going to be different things that you can do. Like for me, I've been in karate since I was 9 and I still take karate classes even when I'm out in Boston, even though my home is Minnesota. So just keep in mind there's always going to be things you can do that aren't just limited to like Wellesley's orgs or clubs. So just like play around with that idea too.
Yeah. I also had an on-campus job my first year. Kamya also had one. I don't think there's a tennis club at Wellesley. Like, correct me if I'm wrong, but I don't think there is one, like just for like a hobby or like just for fun. So just because there is no clubs that's offered, you could still have fun. You know, like I still play tennis with my friends outside and like make time. So just feel free to continue what you have been doing, even if there is no club offered. So I think that's really important from my experience. And in terms of joining the clubs, so I think that's all part going back to the org fair. You could just write down your email and just your info, and then you should be invited to the mailing list, I believe.
I believe you can get invited to the mailing list. You also end up joining like Google groups. You can follow Instagram pages and message them. If you know people that are in it, that can also be helpful because then you can just like kind of tag along and go with them. Some orgs will have like closed practices versus open practices. For example, like archery will do like open practices so anyone can go. To actually be in archery, you have to like be on the team. So it's mostly closed practices. I think my understanding with rugby was like at least during our 15 season, I think we had open practices for a while and then it was closed. But I think the general idea is like anyone can join at any time. I think that's generally the idea for most of the orgs on campus. So just keep that in mind. It's about putting yourself out there at the end of the day. So as long as you do that, you'll be fine.
Yeah. And then a majority of the clubs have first year e-board positions. And so if you are interested and when you enter a club and then they have open positions, feel free to apply to those first year positions because only first years can apply, right? But then for the other positions, we usually already choose and vote the year before. So other positions are already full by the next school year. But don't be pressured to have a position. Like you're still going to be busy adjusting, making new friends, you know, taking college classes. And so if you are interested, then you're free to apply, but don't be pressured into feeling like you need to have a position just because your friend does already. So just making that clear before we move on. Yeah.
Yeah, echoing that, I think especially when you get involved in like groups that you really care about, it's easy to feel this pressure to like have to be part of e-board. And I just want to make it clear, like you do in no way, shape, or form have to be part of any e-board if you don't want to, and if you don't have the capacity to do so. Like, let's be candid, Wellesley's a hard enough school already. You do not have to make it even harder for yourself if it's not going to be something you're really passionate about. And a lot of the upperclassmen I've talked to have expressed this to me where it's like, you can be really passionate about something and being on e-board is just not going to work. And that you have to learn to be okay with that and realize that like unlike high school where it was possible to be part of like 50 bazillion things and be in leadership for all of them, college is a very different experience and it's not as realistic to be doing that. So I think just like giving yourself your first year or at least the very first semester to just kind of feel out what you like and then going from there to really choose like what you want to prioritize is really important. Going more in depth with the types of activities offered at Wellesley, you'll remember back to the very beginning where we talked about the brief categories, but now we're going to talk more specifically like what are different orgs in those categories. So I think Rachel's going to start with the first 3.
Oh, really?
Yeah, she is actually.
Oh, okay. Well, yeah, okay. So the first group was cultural. If you're far away from home, you want to connect with your roots, you want to kind of stay connected to your culture. So there's a lot of different orgs that are offered, like WASAC, it's for those of South Asian descent, KSA, Korean Student Association, CSA, Chinese students, etc. And there's like so many more. So feel free to join if you're interested. And then there's like performance-based cultural, where those are mostly like dance groups, martial arts. We have a friend, Marlon. Shout out to Marlon. Yay. Love you, Marlon. She's part of Wushu. She deals with weapons or some sort.
So wushu is a performing art that involves weapons. It's just incredible to watch.
Yeah.
I highly recommend if you're interested, you should join. As a gal who loves weapons, I wish I could join. If I had the time, I would. So
I personally would just watch from afar, but I think we have no, yeah, we do have a clip of Marlon, part of the Wushu event in one of our previous vlogs when we were back in college. So it just is super cool. You should join if you're interested. And then religion. There's so many different religious groups, even if it's the same religion or like the same branch. So just explore and see like which group fits for you more. And
yeah. The next couple, so first for career, there's multiple pre-med societies. As I mentioned, like I'm part of 2 pre-med societies. There's pre-dental, pre-law, pre-vet, and a ton of other ones. I think there's even like a forensic society, if I remember correctly. And then comes academics. There's a ton of academic clubs for whatever you're interested in, whether it's chemistry, economics, neuroscience, psych, and a ton more. I feel like that's there at every college, but yeah, obviously it's there here too. And then when it comes to sports, there's actually, in my opinion, a really good amount of options. There's rugby, water polo, frisbee, Nordic ski, squash, rock climbing. There's plenty there. I will say I am going to shout myself out right now because there's also Wellesley Recreation has like student-led fitness classes in the KSC. So there's a bunch of people who teach. Is it just called spin? I'm not quite sure, but it's like the class where you're on
spinning.
yeah, it's spinning. So you're on the bike and then it's a Wellesley student leading the class. I teach kickboxing. I don't know how often or when it's going to be next year, but I will continue teaching it as of right now.
She's gonna have a K-pop night, guys.
Yes, I promised Rachel I would have a K-pop night. I had a Taylor Swift night last time. And then, oh, there's lifting. There's a lifting class. I don't know if, at least I was there last year. There was a yoga class last year. So there's a bunch of different options there too when it comes to like more physically inclined types of things. So just keep that in mind as well. Okay, so then when it comes to like health and wellness, there's She, which is focused on like sexual health. There's Share, which is substance harm and reduction, and then there's Blue Cancer Society, which is BCS, and then there's a couple more, I believe. Those are the main ones that I've heard of or like seen or gone to events for, but then there's also the media, which is like there's the Wellesley Review, which I believe is the magazine or like the newspaper. And then there's WZLY, which is like the podcast, the radio stations that students can go on. WZLY is so cool. Shout out to Bronny Bailey. Bronny Bailey has a show. You know who else is getting a show? I think Maya. Love Maya. Love both of them.
Really?
So that's really cool. If I start a podcast, I hope every single person subscribed listens.
If you have a podcast?
If I have a podcast. If I don't go to WZLY, my podcast is going to be my weekly uploads. My weekly uploads is just going to be a podcast.
And then we have 2 more. Volunteering, again, we mentioned a lot. We're part of the Alts Buddies, WBCH. We also mentioned that we both want to try joining the homeless one. So there's so many different volunteering orgs you can possibly join.
Okay, so for societies, there's either 4 or 5. I'm probably missing one, and I'm sorry in advance. But there's Tizzy, Agra, Shakespeare, and ZA. There might be another one. I don't know if there's another one. I'm sorry if there's another one and I forgot it. I promise you guys are just as loved. Those are all of the more in-depth looks at what activities look like. So yeah. Rachel, any final thoughts?
I know everything might seem overwhelming. I'm sure like right now you guys are so busy with like trying to register for classes or like prepare for coming to college. But I just really want to say don't feel pressured to join like so many different clubs and know your limits. I know it's kind of hard because you're not even in college yet, but just because everyone else is like joining like five clubs doesn't mean like five works for you. You know what I mean? It's like you need to know that each club requires a lot of like time commitment and like responsibility just being part of the club as a member. And so just really try to have like a small number of clubs in which you're super passionate about, in which you can really fully contribute to the club. And I think from then on, you'll be perfectly in good shape. To be fair, Kamya and I, again, we just finished our first year, so we're still trying to figure that out. So, like don't be overwhelmed if you're not really sure of how to go about all of this right now.
I will say, at least something I felt in high school was always like, I always felt really guilty if I couldn't make it to a practice or a meeting because of school. And obviously, that feeling of guilt is going to be there if you really care about it. But at the same time, something I love about Wellesley is like, everyone's here to learn. So everyone understands. It's like everyone understands what school means to you. Unlike high school, for at least me, and I know a lot of other people, there's this general understanding of like, oh, you need to put school first. Like, okay. Where I feel like there's a lot of other places where that doesn't happen, which is really reassuring and validating. So, unlike high school, you don't need to feel pressured to constantly be going if you have to prioritize school or prioritize your health first. That's another one, like prioritizing your health. Every single person at this school is going to tell you to put that first, which is another really important thing. And I think just being really open with people and asking, like, if you're nervous about an org or you feel like you're not sure if it's a good fit, 9 times out of 10, I'd say just go for it and see what happens. And if it isn't a good fit, then okay. Like, there's orgs that I joined during the first semester that I was like, you know what? I think this is a better fit for other people than it is for me, and I'd rather spend my time doing other things. And there's no hate to the org, it's no hate to myself, it's just wasn't the best fit, and then you just move on. So that's going to happen, and it's nothing to feel bad about. It's just something to realize is natural.
Some words of encouragement, come on.
Got this, man.
And yeah, just before we end, I just want to give a shout out to the clubs in which Kamya and I are part of the e-board. Because if you join the club, then you're going to be seeing us, right?
That's
Um,
every day.
even if you don't want to.
We're both co-publicity chairs for WBCH next year.
The
And
Boston
then
Children's Hospital one, yeah.
And then for Alzheimer's Buddies, I'm co-presidents with Lily, and then Rachel's the vice president, which is exciting. I'm not quite sure how joining that is gonna look like, so stay tuned. And then you're for archery, right?
I think I'm the pub chair. Yeah.
Woo!
Yay. I hope this video helped for anyone out there, really, even if you're not a first year. But if you have any more Wellesley related questions you possibly have during the summer, make sure to leave a comment. We'll try to address them all. And yeah, I think that's pretty much it. Anything else, Kamya?
Don't hesitate to reach out. Our Instagrams are in the description. You can always ask a question. We will never be awkward about it. Just please feel free.
No, we actually love when you guys DM us saying that you're watching our channel. It's actually so cute.
Oh my God, the amount of people that'll come up to me when I'm just walking inside blasting music. I'm so sorry.
Guys, why are you guys not coming up to me? Kamya's always like, this so-and-so came up to me. And I'm like, no one came up to me.
Rachel, I feel like I'm just noticeable because I'm so short.
Is that why?
Can people comment? Is that why you notice me? Is it because of my height or is it because of my headphones? Like, what is it?
Oh, it might be the headphones, actually. That's like your trademark
It's
now.
probably because they see a really short person with headphones on and they're like, oh, that's probably her.
Oh, yeah. But when you guys come on campus and you guys see us, make sure to give us a little smile or like come say hi to us because we love you guys. So yeah, that's going to be the end of our video. Thanks for watching, and we'll be coming back with another video, so stay tuned for that.